The laughter was a short, sharp burst of condescension that silenced the high school creative writing class. Mr. Henderson, a teacher who prized rigid sonnets over raw emotion, was holding a single typewritten page as if it were contaminated. "An ode to a cracked sidewalk?" he chuckled, addressing the room, but staring directly at the author, a quiet 17-year-old named Jamal. "Poetry requires elevation, Jamal, not this urban grittiness." He dropped the poem back onto Jamal's desk. The power dynamic was a chasm, the established white arbiter of taste and the black student whose world he deemed unworthy of art. Mr. Henderson saw only the boy's thrift store clothes and quiet demeanor, completely unaware that the words he had just mocked were about to be validated by the most prestigious art institution in the country. For Jamal, school was a cage of lowered expectations. Teachers saw his quietness as disengagement, never guessing it was intense observation. His poetry wasn't an assignment. It was his oxygen. At home, in a small apartment that smelled of old books and determination, his grandmother had filled him with stories of Langston and Angelo. She'd told him, "Our stories are our wealth, child. Write them down." So he did. He wrote about the rhythmic click-clack of his mother's lone sewing machine, the defiant dandelion pushing through concrete, the weary sag of his father's shoulders after a double shift. Mr. Henderson's dismissal was a familiar ache, an echo of the guidance counselor who'd suggested he focus on more practical trades. But with each rejection, Jamal's resolve hardened. He began secretly submitting his work to every contest and journal he could find, mailing them under his grandmother's name, building a secret life as a poet away from the stifling walls of his high school. The twist began not with a bang, but with a phone call. The principal's voice, uncharacteristically reverent, crackled over the school's intercom, requesting Mr. Henderson report to the office immediately. A woman from the National Gallery of Art was on the line. In the principal's office, the speakerphone amplified her crisp, professional tone. "We're calling about the poem Ode to a Cracked Sidewalk, submitted under the name Grace Jones. Our curators have selected it for our new American Voices exhibit. We're acquiring it for our permanent collection." Mr. Henderson's face, initially confused, drained of all color as the woman began to read the first few lines, the very lines he had laughed at. "From the fracture, a map emerges." The principal, a man who'd never once acknowledged Jamal's talent, stared in stunned silence. The poem, a profound meditation on resilience and hidden beauty, was being enshrined in a national monument. The English teacher was summoned to the office. When he arrived, the scene was surreal. His scowling teacher, his awestruck principal, and the disembodied voice of high culture praising his work. Mr. Henderson, desperate to save face, spluttered, "Jamal, this is wonderful." "The school will, of course, host a celebration. We'll feature your work in the newsletter. I'll personally mentor you for the state competition." He was trying to co-opt the success, to position himself as the discoverer of this genius. Jamal, who had entered the room with his usual quiet grace, simply looked at his teacher. "No, sir," he said, his voice calm but firm. "You don't get to celebrate what you tried to erase. My work doesn't need your mentorship. It needed your respect, and you failed to give it." The revelation was a public execution of Mr. Henderson's authority. The local news picked up the story. Local student's poem, mocked by teacher, acquired by National Gallery. The article detailed how Jamal had been publishing under his grandmother's name for over a year, winning several anonymous awards. The backstory of his grandmother's influence, his disciplined dedication, and the systemic dismissal he'd faced all came to light. Mr. Henderson wasn't just a strict teacher, he was a symbol of a system that too often silences marginalized voices. Facing pressure from the district and widespread public criticism, he was placed on leave pending a review of his teaching methods. In the wake of the storm, a transformation took root. The school district, shamed into action, created a new, diverse literature curriculum. And the person they invited to help select the texts was Jamal. The underdog was now the authority. Mr. Henderson, in a private meeting with Jamal before his transfer to another school, offered a genuine, stumbling apology. "I was teaching poetry," he admitted, "but you understood it. I'm sorry." It wasn't a grand redemption, but it was a start. Jamal's poem, now cast in bronze at the National Gallery, stood as a permanent testament to a simple, powerful truth. This story proves that value isn't determined by those who hold the power, but by those who hold the pen. It shows that the most profound beauty often grows in the places others overlook. If this story of hidden genius and poetic justice touched your heart, subscribe to the channel for more tales of the silenced who found their voice.